Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Joe, aka Joe the Wellness Curator, and this is Obsidian Mindset Podcast, where we are redefining what wellness means to you. So excited to be back. Happy holidays, folks. This is normally a happy time for people, and if not, that's okay too. I hope we all get to enjoy peace and prosperity and abundance during this time that gets to keep on going until next year. Get away from my feet. Sorry. Anyway, this episode is going to be rather quick. I hope y'all can't hear my air fryer. I'm trying this new thing where I cook consistently so I don't give DoorDash all my money, right? I'm also enjoying a nice glass of wine. And I say that because there's no reason to say that. I'm just enjoying it. And for those that don't consider it part of wellness, moderation, and to each their own. But over here, we are a believer that you can do both and as long as you're being responsible. Hello. Cheers to that. No, but seriously, we have a couple of episodes excited lined up that I get to talk to you through this. We're still in this food series. We're talking about this food space. And we have a few more angles and perspectives we want to share with you. But for today, it's going to be a quick gem drop. I just want to throw down some information and then we'll continue the program in the next episode. And there's also be some updates in this episode as well. But for today, what I really wanted to talk about, well, there's a few things I wanted to talk about, but I'm going to narrow it down to what I like to call self-care sampler. So it, for me, and I think I've mentioned this on a previous episode, I think I did a whole episode about self-care, but self-care shows up very differently to different people, right? And I also think self-care shows up differently to you or whoever you are, or maybe whoever I am, depending on what phase of life I'm at, depending on what's going on that day, that week, that month, that year, right? It can manifest itself. It can show itself in a different way. And it's up to me, it's up to you, the person, to kind of figure out where you are and if you're doing it responsibly and if you're actually doing it, right? A good example for this is, once upon a time, I would consider going to the gym my main form of self-care. I think that you often hear that a lot from certain people. It's just like, all right, now I'm just quoting. I know you can't see me do air quotes, but I'm quoting, saying I don't need to go to therapy, I have the gym. Which, I get the sentiment, but, we can do both and. We can go to therapy and go to the gym. That's cool too. But I think I say that all to say, now that I'm like more working in the space, doing like training and as well as in a different space where working out and fitness is sometimes a base level for me. I don't always consider it self-care. Or it is, but it's not what I need in order to recharge more. Like I need to do more than that, right? I think self-care comes in different forms and just doing that for me does not suffice. So recently, kind of coming to that realization, especially after I moved, after I got Ginger, work started picking up, I didn't have as much time to do other things, right? For me, I put wellness, I basically have it in my calendar in some form. Like I'm always, like I said, I try to be active every day, some form, even if it's not the gym or if it's not running, I'll end up walking Ginger a little bit longer and just going for a walk. But for me, what I realized is I've kind of let all those extra passions, all those extra excitement, all the extra things that I was trying out before this. So I'll say maybe in the beginning of the pandemic. So maybe around 2020, 2021, even maybe a little pre-podcast. Because, to be frank, to be honest, this is also taking up a bit of time and, it's work in the end of the day. So what I've lost in a sense is some of my time to actually take care of myself and have self-care. I've lost some of that time to focus on things that I really appreciated. That does not have to be, and I say this again, does not have to be monetized. It does not have to be done for a reason or a purpose, but it's just to do it, just to be present with yourself, just to learn more about yourself. So I think what I've come to realize, and the reason why I say self-care sampler is I am entering this new phase, or I'm trying to bring myself back into this new phase where I'm trying everything, right? I'm trying everything again, doing things for fun, doing things that I might not normally do, doing things that, might bring me joy, and if not, that's okay too. It's funny because this weekend I went to brunch with two of my friends, and we were having a discussion about how much we just love, or at least I said I love samplers, right? Like if a menu has something with a sampler, I'll most likely get it because I just like trying different things. And then the next time, maybe I won't get a sampler, maybe I'll pick the one that I actually enjoyed. But for the most part, I am always down to sample a lot of things. That's just how I've been. Even when it comes to like, you remember when you were younger, or when we were younger, or maybe not, because you're different, age range than me. But I remember being younger, and there was always that big sample of Kellogg's cereals. And I know cereals high sugar, whatever. Just follow me to the past for a second. I just used to love it, although I never used to like the Wheaties, or not the Wheaties. Which one's the one, the wheat with the orange box? That's not Wheaties? Wait, let me look up the cereal. It was the orange Kellogg's box. That's exactly what I googled. I should have put Frost mini wheats. Was not a fan of that. That one could go. But everything else, I just love to try. I like to have little samples here and there. So I say all that to say, I'm trying to try that new approach of sampling everything back to self care. And I did it a little bit in 2020, or a little bit before 2020. And now I want to kind of bring that back. So, what does that mean? All right. So, this last couple of weeks, I have been getting back into running, and I realized how much that I do a lot of lifting, or I have been doing a lot of lifting, but I haven't really been in my running bag, like for real, since I moved. So probably New Jersey. So that was about a year ago, a little bit no before I moved, so maybe a little bit over a year ago. So that's one, something that I've been starting again, just kind of reigniting that passion for it. Trust me, the first week was not easy, and specifically outside. So right now I'm doing it in the cold, which is not was never my favorite. But I'm about to get some new outfits, and that always motivates me to run and work out. I'm pretty bundled up. Got the gloves, got the ear warmers or ear covers. I got like two layers of no. I have running pants that's pretty much meant for like heat tech, gloves, two layers of shirts, and then my running jacket. So that's been good. So kind of getting back into that, seeing some good results in terms of like getting faster. Not as fast as I used to be, but that's okay because that's not where I am anymore, and that's okay too. Something to thrive for, strive for. But if I don't get there, that's fine. Other things I've been doing, I have been reigniting my love for reading and writing. So I recently listened to this really good podcast episode by Ezra Klein. If you know me, you know I love listening to Ezra Klein. I just love his opinions. He's a writer for the New York Times. He also had another podcast before this called Vox the Weeds, where they talked about political, like policy wonk stuff. If you're into that, great podcast. But Ezra Klein, I think he does a little bit of politics, but a lot of philosophy and lifestyle, deep thinking kind of stuff. So that's a plug. Although I'm not getting paid for it, but that's a plug neither here nor there. But what the episode was talking about, he brought on, I believe it was a psychologist or a scientist or something of that nature, and she was basically talking about the act of reading and how that's changed our mindsets, and how we have, now that we no longer read as many physical books and gone towards the screen and electronics, how that has literally changed the way that we process information in our mind, and how we don't focus as much on certain things. We aren't doing the more reflective piece of the reading. And sometimes the quick and easy approach isn't the best approach. That's something that we all know, as well as, when you're reading in a physical book, and I noticed I do this myself. I didn't realize until she actually mentioned it. If I, and it happens all the time, we zone out or we don't know what we exactly read, we're more likely to go back and reread the page or reread the paragraph. But in the electronic version, that doesn't happen as often, right? Usually you're skimming, kind of going on to the next section before you finish the next, sometimes, or typically that's the way some of our brains are programmed to kind of read screens and things of that nature, especially in this age where you are basically fighting your brain for attention, right? Like everything's going on with the internet, and it's like what can hold our attention the most. So especially when you're seeing a screen, sometimes that is what's captivating it, or that's what's happening to it. So say all that to say, I picked up a book recently. Actually, it's a book I bought in Nigeria a few years back, and it's called Who Fears Death. It's post-apocalyptic Africa and the journey of this girl and her gifts and how she kind of she navigates the world with her gifts. Um, and it's brought me such joy to one read some fiction. I think I've also been reading a lot of nonfiction, so it's really good to read some fiction, kind of get into an escape and be able to use my imagination a little bit more, as well as also actually like physically allowing myself to section off a time of my schedule. I'm very big on schedules and kind of planning and things of that nature. I found it amazing that I was able to block off this block of time to read, kind of take my eyes off the screens, take my eyes off of anything digital, and kind of go back to basics with reading a book. And that's something I really enjoyed before, and I kind of lost that. I think partially because in the pandemic, I haven't read many physical books, as well as since the pandemic happened, I haven't been commuting to the office or commuting to work or commuting a lot in general. Instead of I've been walking Ginger, and I can't really read while walking her. But when I used to commute to work, I used to be able to read a lot more, either on the train, on the bus, even walking to the station. I would do a little quick reading. So I think I'm really excited to kind of dive back into that, as well as writing. I started to do a lot more journaling in this recent couple of weeks, as well as writing little known story, little fact. I don't know if I said this last season, but I started writing a story in 2020, 2019, 2020, a fiction story about a black gay man from Louisiana, and kind of going through his own gifts and powers, and kind of navigate how he navigates that and being, I don't want to give too much away, but it was really enjoyable to do that. I think for a few reasons. One, it kind of allowed me to tap into my imagination and see what I can do, kind of a stretch. I'm usually more of the analytical data kind of guy, but I do love Afrofuturism. I do love, I don't want to say magical. Oh yeah, I'm a Harry Potter fan. Or yeah, but yeah, I think I've enjoyed being able to stretch myself and to see if I do have the chops to do what that can. And I think in a similar vein, it was once upon a time I'll tell myself, English and writing isn't my thing. When you talk about my SAT scores, it was not my math was definitely the saving grace of my SATs to say the least. But I think this is kind of allowing me to challenge that. It allows me to see how much I've learned. Yes, I do my Wordle every day, right? Like I've learned. I look at my word a day. I do all these other things that has increased my capacity to do this. I'm excited to share it once it's done. Maybe it'll be a for a self. We'll see. So let's see. Writing, reading. What did I say? Running. Oh, and lastly, and I think there's a few other things, but lastly, plants. Now, I think maybe we talked about the last episode, but recently I just um, repotted my plants, and it's like been 5 days since I repotted it, and they all look like they are going to make it. So I feel like I'm a surgeon, just did operation. So I'm super excited about that. And it's so funny because a couple of years ago, I was always notorious for saying I am not a plant guy. My parents were. They have a green thumb. They have a green thumb right now. If I show you pictures and videos of what their garden looks like, it is immaculate, and it's right in the middle of the city. They're in the suburbs, but it looks like it is the forest. There's plants of all colors, flowers of all colors. We got fruit trees in the background, in the backyard. So it's just a majestic place to be. But for some reason, that gene never passed to me, or at least that was my interpretation. That was my limited belief. And I would never buy a plant. Whenever I bought a plant, it would never take care of itself, or I would never take care of it, rather. Maybe that was a problem. I thought it would take care of itself. And I think over the pandemic, I bought a tree, I bought a plant, or it was gifted to me. And little by little, I started to increase the amount of plants I had. Fun fact, Trader Joe's has some really good starter plants for anyone that feels like they're going to kill plants fast. They're some of the ones that have lasted me the longest since I've been here. So I have I started off with one or two, and now I have about six or seven. No, one, two, three, four. Maybe no, actually more like 10 because one I got from Trader Joe's. Once I repotted it, found out it was basically four plants together, so I was able to separate them, and they're going to be super big. Don't know the names of these things. One is the one that everyone typically gets, the one that's a vine. You know what? I owe y'all names. I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna figure out the names. But I think I say all that to say, it's brought me joy to just be with nature. I always say that like go outside, but like being able to like be in the soil, be one with the plant, see it growing, seeing what you're doing is impacting something else that's being alive. And I guess that works. I guess that's what parents do. I don't know. I can't tell you about that. But it's just cool to see finding different tips to make it better. If it looks like it's about to, not going through the right things, there's a way to change it. So for instance, I started making this cocktail called the eggshell water or tea. Basically, you are boiling eggshells, which has a lot of potassium and some other nutrients that are really good for your plants. So instead of throwing out your eggshells, you boil it in water and basically let it stay for a little bit, and then you water it with that tea I believe every couple months. That has been a hit. That helps my plants a lot. Actually, I'm not going to spend this whole episode talking about plants because I can do that for a little bit longer than I expected. And if you had told me 2 years ago I'd be talking about plants on a podcast, my plants that are still alive on a podcast, I would have thought you lost your mind. Or the fact that I think I have like a quarter of my living room, not a quarter of my living space, that's a little bit exaggeration, but a big corner of my space is being dedicated to my plants, and they have their own dedicated light. Y'all know the light, the one that's purple, the one red and blue. I would not think you were talking about me. So I think there's just some things that I'm doing that allow me to one be present. To you know what? Actually, since we are in the holiday season, let me tell you about the last one. I hold on, y'all. Just take a second. Let me tell y'all. I bought a Christmas tree. Now that sounds normal, right? For many folks, I haven't put it up yet, so that's to be done by the end of the week. But typically, I have never in my life bought a Christmas tree. So once I left my parents' house, and we've always done Christmas tree every year since birth. I just never did it. Um, I don't know. I just never am festive in my own space. I just tend to, when I'm outside, I'm festive. When I'm here, or I still watch Christmas movies, right? I watch Harry Potter, which I still is semi-Christmas movie, or this is a lot of marathons during Christmas. I watch Home Alone, which I plan on doing tonight, and but I just never like decorate. But I'm using this moment to also kind of be present, to kind of make the space my own. I think that's a big piece for me, just making the space my own. And I got a Christmas tree, so I'm gonna decorate with Ginger, and make sure she don't try to tear it down. So I'm really curious. So these are the things that I've been doing to one, take care of myself, two, kind of find what I want to do, what brings me joy, what brings me back to be feeling rested, what fills me up with energy, with creativity, and how I want to use some of this energy. Not always like I said, not always needing to be quote unquote productive, not always needing to be on the move or being successful at something, but doing something because I want to do it, I enjoy it. So I'm curious for everyone out there, what are you guys doing that brings you self-care? What are you doing that you want to start again or start that might bring you joy? And if it doesn't, guess what? That's what this is. That's what a sampler is about. Remember, like I said, you get a sampler, you might not like some of it. That's a risk, but it's okay because you tried, and now you can find some other things you do. So I want to know for y'all, what's on your self-care sampler? I want everyone to start focusing on things they want to try, and don't wait till New Year's. We don't need to do this resolution stuff, right? We could start right now and find something new. We could do something this weekend that might be different. It might be going to take pictures, like bringing out that camera. You bought all that money for that phone, that iPhone. You might as well use that picture quality to take some photos at the park, do a nice photo walk, or maybe painting, a nice sip and paint. Maybe, hey, girl, you bit me. Sorry, Ginger. Maybe it's planting, right? Maybe it's doing something that you haven't done since you were a child, or before you got married, or before you got pregnant, or before had been working a lot. Let's try something new. Let's try something different. We can't always work. That's not how life works, right? We've seen it. It's been scientifically proven. I don't know what the sources are. I'll find out later for y'all. It's been, but it's also it's a fact of it's just that's how we should be living our lives. Just taking every moment for granted and just working throughout the whole thing. Because at the end of the day, one burnout, right? Like even me doing this podcast, and I'm doing like Obsidian Wellness Club and some other things and a few projects that I'll be sharing later on. But all that seems fun to me, and I think I'm enjoying doing it. But it's also still a form of work, right? Even for those that are doing side projects and those that are doing their own businesses or writing a book or doing writing a manuscript or whatever that something that you might enjoy, it is still work in some ways, and you still take some time to self-care. Even if that thing that you're doing before is a form of self-care for you, it might be time, since it's now a piece of work, to find something else that can help you kind of refill that cup and refuel you. So I want to know from y'all, what is some of the new things that you're going to try? What is on your self-care sampler? All right. All right. So Ginger wants to play right now, and I have to finish my food. So I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to cut it right there. We're going to talk about self-care more on IG. Feel free to, if you aren't following me yet, feel free to follow me at my personal Show the Wellness Curator on IG, or the Obsidian Mindset on IG. And don't forget to follow Obsidian Wellness Club, because we have a few things that are coming up and programming that I'll talk about later. That should be really, really fun and really, really cool and impactful. And all I'm going to say is Obsidian is worldwide. And it's couldn't be that way without y'all. So I appreciate y'all again. All right. With that said, I appreciate y'all. Have a great one. And like I like to say, thank you for picking you today. Bye, y'all.